The annexation of Tibet by China is a deeply complex and controversial episode in the history of the Cold War. This video serves as a documentary-style exploration of the events surrounding the annexation, shedding light on the geopolitical maneuverings, ideological clashes, and the lasting impact on Tibet's autonomy within the context of the Cold War. Part 1. Historical background. The narrative begins by providing a historical context to Tibet's unique position as a sovereign state with a distinct cultural and religious identity. The region had maintained a degree of autonomy, with its spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, at the helm of both religious and political affairs. Tibet's strategic location made it a point of interest for neighboring powers. Part 2. Mao's Communist China. As the video unfolds, it delves into the rise of Mao Zedong's communist regime in China. The Chinese Communist Party, having emerged victorious in the Chinese Civil War, sought to consolidate its power and assert control over border regions, including Tibet. The clash of ideologies between Communist China and the traditional theocratic governance of Tibet set the stage for conflict. Part 3. 1950 Invasion and 17-Point Agreement. The documentary-style narrative sheds light on the events of 1950 when Chinese forces invaded Tibet. The Dalai Lama's government, facing the military might of the People's Liberation Army, entered into negotiations that culminated in the signing of the 17-Point Agreement. However, this agreement, seen by some as coerced, paved the way for China's increased influence in Tibet. Part 4. Uprising of 1959. The video reflects on the tensions that escalated over the years, leading to the Tibetan Uprising of 1959. The Tibetan people, dissatisfied with Chinese rule and fearing further erosion of their cultural and religious identity, took to the streets in a mass protest. The Dalai Lama, facing threats to his life, fled to India, where he established a government in exile. Part 5. Cultural Revolution and Suppression. As the narrative vividly recounts, the Cultural Revolution 1966-1976 unleashed by Mao Zedong further intensified the suppression of Tibetan culture and religious practices. Monasteries were destroyed, and religious leaders were persecuted, leading to widespread cultural upheaval and human rights abuses in Tibet. Part 6. The Dalai Lama's Global Advocacy. The documentary explores the Dalai Lama's global advocacy for Tibetan autonomy and human rights. His efforts to garner international support and draw attention to the plight of Tibetans in the face of Chinese oppression became a focal point for activists and world leaders, sparking debates on China's conduct in Tibet. Part 7. Contemporary Geopolitical Implications. The video reflects on the contemporary geopolitical implications of China's annexation of Tibet. Tibet's status remains a contentious issue on the international stage, with many nations refraining from officially recognizing China's claims over the region. The Tibetan cause continues to be a point of tension in China's relations with other nations. Part 8. Tibet Today. The documentary-style narrative concludes by examining the current situation in Tibet. The region remains under tight Chinese control, with ongoing concerns about cultural assimilation, religious freedom, and human rights abuses. The enduring struggle for autonomy and the preservation of Tibetan identity persist as key issues in the 21st century. Conclusion. The annexation of Tibet by China during the Cold War era is a complex and contested historical narrative. As explored in this documentary-style video, the events surrounding Tibet's incorporation into the People's Republic of China reveal the intricate dynamics of ideological clashes, geopolitical maneuvers, and the enduring struggle for autonomy in the face of a rising superpower. The legacy of Tibet's annexation reverberates through contemporary geopolitics, shaping the discourse on human rights and sovereignty.